Good evening, spiritual warriors. Welcome to Spiritual Warriorship in this a new year, 2011. And we've been coming together for some time, I hope, those of you out there. I want to wish you a blessed, enlightened, Krishna conscious New Year. And it's really a moment by moment, following the principles we know of for this teaching, Vaishnavism. So I thank you for coming back, and let's see where we're going to go. We have been studying from many of His Holiness Bhakti-tirtha Swami's books. He has quite a few, right? 16. And we've been through a number of chapters in all of the Spiritual Warrior books. And this time we're going back to one. We've been through Spiritual Warrior 3. We've gone through about four chapters. In that book, I hope you remember some of the titles. You remember we did the Spiritual Warriors, 12 qualities of a spiritual warrior. You remember any of those qualities? We did chapter 8, how to strengthen ourselves. Remember we spoke about spiritual life being challenging. You remember why the challenges come? I believe I've got checked here, guidelines for responsible action. And that was quite some time ago, but we went through that also. I always feel I could use a review. But a new adventure tonight, a new year, new adventure. We're starting at the beginning of the book. I started in the middle. And what I'd like to do is go through the introduction from His Holiness Bhakti-tirtha Swami, and to just give us a review of what a spiritual warrior, the concept of spiritual warriorship. We used to go through them almost every week, and then I let that go, figuring you knew what it was. But it's good for the new year, right? And it's interesting looking at the notes from the editors. They conclude their note by stating that the information within these pages of this Spiritual Warrior 3, which is subtitled Solace for the Heart in Difficult Times. That's comforting, isn't it? That you'll find solace here. And they tell us that the information presented within these pages is extremely rare. So we're hoping that you will make the most of the knowledge that the chapters contain. And if you take these teachings seriously, they can transform your life into a most sublime, loving adventure. And, I like to use that word, adventure. And I got that also from Bhakti-tirtha Swami when he talks sometimes, rather than speaking of struggles, could call them adventures, challenges, rather than, these challenges, these adventures, because in an adventure you're alert, and many things can come to you to help you. So we're going to see what the author himself has to say, but what I would like to do is present a few questions on this introduction page, and if we have time we'll get to chapter 1, but we will definitely, get to chapter 1 at some point. And I'd like you to think about the questions while we're sharing the concepts and thoughts of His Holiness Bhakti-tirtha Swami, because this isn't, I want to say, it's not light stuff. Sometimes when I read and get through it, I said, this is heavy, this is deep. And it is. And if you're interested in your spiritual life, if you're on this Vaishnava path, if you're reading Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Srila Prabhupada's works, and somehow you feel I'm reading and I don't have the taste or nothing's happening, sometimes you need to look on subtle levels, which I find Bhakti Tirtha Swami helps bring out. And he'll lay out the picture of how things really are, that maybe you've been in denial, or I don't think so, or not paying much attention. And he puts it in front of you, and then he comes and lifts you to a higher level to see what you yourself can do to rise to a higher level, because we have to take responsibility and be accountable for what's going on in our lives and even in our spiritual lives. So consider this question, and the answers will come up as I read. But what do true spiritualists seek? What do true spiritual pursuits seek? And then list weapons of a true spiritual warrior. What weapons are these that a true spiritual warrior strives to master? And what is the battleground of a true spiritual warrior? What is the objective and endeavor of a true spiritual warrior? Okay? What do spiritual warriors seek? What is the essence of spiritual warfare? What is the duty of the spiritual warrior? Okay? Now, let's see what our teacher has to say. And this is where we've heard this before, but it's nice for the new year to review that spiritual warriors are unconventional, to say the least. We do not fight with conventional weapons. We do not fight on conventional battlegrounds. And we do not fight for conventional objectives. Now he tells us that many of the wars in human society have had some religious overtones. But a closer look generally reveals that the combatants are actually more interested in what? Some political or territorial gains. Now in these cases, religious differences are simply held out as banners, like race, gender, or class, to what? To minimize the humanity of others and justify unjustifiable actions. Now, spiritual warriors have nothing to gain by such exploits. We see that assets and power these groups fight so viciously for are what? Transitory, temporary, and do not bring true happiness. Now there's a difference between religion and spirituality. Very important. Now, religion can play an important role in our development of spiritual understanding, okay? But it can also promote divisions and sectarianism. Whether we follow the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, or the Vedas, we must recognize that true spiritual pursuits seek the common ground between all things, the common ground between all things and all beings. And this is developed by careful study of all the ancient wisdom we have available to us. And if you've been studying a while this Vedic philosophy and reading Srila Prabhupada, Bhagavad Gita and all, you've come across and you begin to see the sense of seeing Krishna in everything. Bhakti Tirtha Swami tapes, CDs, MP3s, and these books are constantly reminding us to see Krishna in everything and in everyone. Now, the true spiritual warrior strives to master the weapon of love, humility, compassion, faith, and self-knowledge. Definitely not conventional weapons, but these are the weapons of power. Now, spiritual warrior's battleground is the realm of human consciousness. And that's where we wage war against the ignorance and lust that now pervades human society like an occupying army. That's why our consciousness has to be purified and clear so that we can wage war, if you will, with these weapons of love, humility, compassion, faith, tolerance, self-knowledge. And what is our objective? Spiritual warriors' objective is a civilization where people live in harmony with each other and with God, and are awakened and in tune with the effulgent spiritual environment that is available to us. Now, towards these ends, we endeavor to develop ourselves and share our understanding with the people we meet, giving them the tools they need to discover and experience the truth for themselves. So that's quite a position, a role of spiritual warriors, not, as I said earlier, something like. But again, as he mentions, we have to develop ourselves, be introspective so many times, he tells us, so that we can become fixed and then we can reach out to others. Now, the problems that we face today are so vast and so varied that even the most paranoid have difficulty knowing what to worry about on any given day. War, racism, crime, disease, natural disasters, and the list goes on. Each of these issues is so overwhelming and complex that it seems any one of them could easily be the downfall of our existence. You know, in reading this, I over the past few months, I don't know. I don't turn on my TV, and I'll tell you how it's been a while because they sent some company sent me a survey that they wanted me to do Nielsen something rating, and the lady called and she started, and I said, well, first let me tell you, I don't watch TV. Well, that's all right. We want all the people in your area to get this survey, and we'll send you $30. So I didn't argue. She was persistent. And sure enough, in the mail came the survey with $30 cash. And I looked it over and I put it aside, and then the deadline came and I figured, well, for the $30, I'll just, put no, whatever. So one question in the survey had to do with what channels do you get, I think, because I'm not on cable, I'm not on HBO, all that other stuff. But I knew there was some channels, so they said, note here the channels that you get. Well, my dear, I went to click on the TV and didn't know how to bring up the channels. I have that box on there when it was changing to digital or whatever. I got that on, and then nothing came up on the screen, and I didn't know what else to do. So I had to skip that survey question. But I say all of that as he's describing what's going on in the world today, and how some people paranoid, you have a problem. But I just decided, and the only thing I watched on TV was the news, and I was only watching it once a week. On Friday I used to go to public TV and get the roundup of what happened in the week, but it just seemed to get worse and worse, and I decided I didn't want it. And now this is me and where I am in my process. I even changed on my computer, my home page. I used to have Yahoo as a home page, but when you go home, when you get there, first thing it has is all the headlines and pictures of all the stuff going on, and I didn't want to see that. So I changed to another home page. So if I want the news, I click on news, and I ask for it, and I get it, and I can turn it off when I want. But what it did for me is when I used to see some of the headlines and the stories about their personalities, it made me want to pray more, chant more, and ask for Krishna's help in what's going on out there. So some of these things he's saying, I can relate to having the experience and realizing. I'm not saying everybody just cut off, but by the time you reach my age, I've been so involved in all that other stuff. So he's telling us, though, that humankind has experienced periods of great calamity throughout history. Mysteriously, yet without fail, every time these calamities have reached crisis levels, a great guide or prophet has appeared with a powerful message. These revolutionary teachers have come in different races. They have appeared in different parts of the world, and they have presented different religious systems. Yet at the same time, each of their messages have embraced the same three basic tenets. What are those three tenets? Or one of them, if anyone can think of it. You can respond, if I ask a question. I can't see your the screen, but I do have a technician who will inform me. But the three basic tenets that the revolutionary teachers have brought: love the Lord with all your heart. Love your neighbor as yourself. And this world is not your home. And what we've studied, and those of us who are studying Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada's writings, we're hearing, first thing is, you're not the body. You're a spirit soul. And that spirit soul is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And as you have that begin to develop that relationship and connectedness, you're building up that loving of the Lord with your whole heart. So, we have all heard these sayings, I'm sure. And you've heard it in one form or another. So, what has happened though, we've heard it so much and repeated some places, that it's really become trivialized in most societies, not focused on and taken seriously to respond to. Just think for a moment about what kind of world we would live in if we all truly took these three basic principles to heart. Now there are two ways he tells us to water a tree. This is an analogy he gives us, and we hear it quite often. You can go from leaf to leaf, up by drop. Or what? You can simply pour water over the roots. Now we know the latter requires far less effort and actually does a better job of delivering the water where it is needed. The complexities of the material world have far more branches and leaves than we can perceive. But according to our great teachers, the roots of our problems lie in our relationship with God and with each other. So if we water those roots, the problems no longer exist, but a solution begins to come. So he tells us, spiritual warriors seek to heal and nourish these relationships first by what? By learning to identify and honor the true self. Then learning to recognize the God essence in ourselves and everyone in our environment. And that honoring the true self, if you're reading Bhagavad Gita, have read Bhagavad Gita, or plan to read Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2 is when Krishna is encouraging Arjuna, teaching Arjuna to know who that true self is, so that he can honor it and then go on the battlefield and fight. So it isn't about being around twiddling our thumbs, okay, Krishna, you take care of it. It's about we have to go on the battlefield. Of course, as we're told here, spiritual warriors, our battlefield is the consciousness that we, of others, our own self, our own consciousness, and others. And as we learn and read and practice and have realizations, we can help others. So that's that's what spiritual warriors do. Doesn't it feel good that you're into the spiritual warrior concept and you're moving on it? Now he tells us that in the same way as light hurts our eyes, when we first wake up in the morning, opening our eyes to the true nature of our existence can at first leave us wanting to roll over and pull the covers up back over our heads. Because when we realize that's really recognition that I'm not the body, I'm a spirit soul. And then you start to identify with that. This is a natural reaction, and it is the duty of those who have already awakened to help others adjust to the light. Got quite a role, spiritual warrior. Now, unfortunately, not everyone is interested in sharing the truth. There are those who have awakened to some degree, but who actually prefer to keep others in darkness. Now, by feeding their fears of the unknown, impious individuals endeavor to keep the masses confused, sedated, and completely dependent on them for sustenance, simply to feed their own egotistical convictions that by manipulating people and resources they can make themselves powerful gods in their own domain. What do we call people like that? There's a name for them. Such people have existed since the beginning of civilization. They are referred to in the Vedas as asuras or demons because they work actively to usurp the Lord's power for themselves. So we must keep in mind, however, that even the distinctions between the devotional and the demonic is really a matter of consciousness. Nearly every great prophet has encountered resistance from powerfully demonic individuals. But they, the prophets, overwhelm them with such love and purity that even these wicked individuals were redeemed in the process. This is true essence of spiritual warfare. Now, if you've been with us a while, we just finished, what was that? Loving your neighbor as yourself. We've been going through a number of things, chapters and areas where Bhakti Tirtha Swami has stressed the importance of love. And again, he's saying, even though great prophets have encountered resistance from powerful demons, but they overwhelm them with love. Huh? And that is the true essence of spiritual warfare. Now, these are difficult times, he reminds us. The modern world is filled with contradictions. Why? Between the environment we want to live in and the environment we actually create for ourselves. We all seem to want peace. Yet there are numerous wars raging, even right now as we're talking. Nearly everyone is seeking deep love and companionship. Yet, even within relationships, so many people are feeling a deep sense of loneliness. And he gives some examples. Workers want to feel valued and want a sense of job security. But the machines created by our own industry devalue many skilled workers. Another example is that students dedicate years studying at universities, only to find themselves inadequately prepared for the fast-paced business world in which their skills are already obsolete. And parents want their children to grow up healthy and happy. Yet so many children end up depressed, angry, and self-destructive. These are difficult times. We turn to our friends for comfort and understanding, but are often left feeling stranded. Why? Because nobody has time for anybody anymore. I remember even in the ashram I lived Gita Nagari, for 5 years. And left the city. And everybody said, come to the farm, you need to get out the city. And I went along. And after some time, someone would say to me, either the people I left back in D.C. or how are things? How are things going? And my only answer was, all right, but everybody is so busy. Nobody has time. And this was back then. And even now, you realize everybody is so busy. And people are saying, I'm so busy, and yet I don't know what I'm doing, So sometimes we get that even with our friends. Now, we look to social and political leaders to improve the quality of our lives, only to be taken advantage of en masse. In many parts of the world, even the police exploit and abuse the people who approach them for help or for protection. Even as people retreat from the modern paradigm and try to move more into more natural setting, weather shifts and natural disasters devour their communities. Those who run for the shelter of drugs for some escape from the misery find themselves more miserable than ever. These are difficult times. Now finally, he tells us, in frustration, some people look to their religious leaders to bring some sense and direction into their lives, only to be disappointed by impotent spiritual leaders who are even more confused and sinful than those they are supposed to be guiding. These and other overwhelming disappointments have led to a global increase in what? Depression, mental illness, homicide, and suicide. These are difficult times. Now he tells us that it is the duty of the spiritual warrior to connect with divine power and develop strength, compassion, and selfless love that will guide and give solace to the hearts of those whom the Lord entrusts in our care. And this is a wonderful point to think about, how he puts it, give solace to the hearts of those whom the Lord has put in our care. It's really, and he's told us in other books we've gone through, that there's no accident, the people who are in our experience, since the Lord is the arranger and controller of everything. And he puts, and as we are practicing spiritual warriors, with what kind of weapons we stated, that we can give solace to the hearts of those whom the Lord brings in our care. So he tells us that time has come to re-spiritualize society. And great adventures await those who are willing and able to rise to the challenge of becoming true spiritual warriors, because these are difficult times. So that's the conclusion of the introduction. Now, I had mentioned a few questions. How many are in the chat room? 2, 3?
No.
Huh?
6 people.
6 people. Oh, great. Familiar? Oh, family members? Yeah? Who's there? I get excited. Oh. What family members came in tonight?
David, Sheila, Leela, Carol, Kremlin, Shruti, and Bhuvan Mohan.
Ah, welcome. Nice to have you all here. And we've been going over these concepts of spiritual warriorship. Does anybody want to answer that question of to list the weapons of a true spiritual warrior? That the weapons a true spiritual warrior strives to master. Should I give you 1, 2, 3? Okay. Anybody?
Bhuvan Mohan says compassion, selfless love.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you. How about what is the battleground of the spiritual warrior? No answers. All right. What do spiritual warriors seek? I guess I'm thinking maybe I should give you the answers. I don't want to give you the answers. I want you to think about it. I'll probably come back to you. Anybody got that one? Spiritual warriors seek to what?
Bhuvan Mohan answered the second question on what is the
Battleground?
Yeah, the realm of human consciousness.
Right.
And Kremlin, he doesn't have the text in front of him.
Huh? Kremlin?
He doesn't have the text in front of him.
Okay. By the way, my dear devotees, participants, these spiritual warrior books can be purchased at krishna.com or the publisher's website, harinamapress.org. Please, there is so much in these books and it would be wonderful if you had them reading along with me, and then you could check. I could make mistakes too, or you can add something to what I'm bringing. Do try your best to be able to get these books in. Right now we're in Spiritual Warrior 3. Okay? Please try. Okay. Thank you, those of you who answered. And what was the last question I asked? What is the duty of the spiritual warrior? What is the duty of the spiritual warrior? Anybody remember that? Oh, did I give you the answer to that last one? What does a spiritual warrior seek? We didn't get an answer to that, right? I don't recall. Okay. Spiritual warriors seek to heal and nourish relationships first by learning to identify and honor the true self, then learning to recognize the God essence in ourselves and everyone in our environment. That's what spiritual warriors seek to do. And the last one, what is the duty of a spiritual warrior? It is the duty of a spiritual warrior to connect with divine power. And how do you do that? Hearing, chanting, remembering, following the regulative principles. If you have a spiritual master, following his instructions, serving him, and service to the Supreme Lord through your chanting. So it's your duty of a spiritual warrior to connect with the divine power, and you do that through your chanting, reading, hearing. Okay? So just remember, as he said, the time has come to re-spiritualize society. And great adventures await those who are willing and able to rise to the challenge of becoming true spiritual warriors. So I'm going to leave you with that tonight. Next week, we're going to start on chapter 1. And the title of that chapter is The Choice Before Humanity. Okay? Are there any questions, comments? Hare Krishnas, how you been doing? What you planning to do for the new year? We have some time. Anybody want to make a comment? Say Happy New Year.
Carol's not feeling well. Carol's not feeling well.
Carol, you're not feeling well? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I just got spoke to 2 people on the phone tonight who said they're not feeling well. Of course, what I do, I can't make the soup, but take vitamin C, drink lots of liquids, and chant the holy name. That's healing too. I hope you feel better, Carol. Anybody else? Any comments? Questions?
Kremlin says Merry Orthodox Christmas today. And Bhuvan Mohan says Hare Krishna. Shruti says planning to increase my sadhana this new year, and finally get my hands on His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami's books.
Oh, wonderful. I hope you do. If it's just one at a time, that's wonderful. And if you go to the harinamapress.org website, I haven't been there in a while. They were giving away something free if you sign up. And then there's a reflection newsletter that comes out that's very interesting. So at least connect there, and you can see the books, you can read excerpts from the books, and when you're able, you can order. I do wish you a very successful, blessed, enlightened New Year, Shruti, and that with your studies and your sadhana improvement, all will go well so much. Kremlin, thank you for coming on. It's good to know that you're there. And Bhuvan Mohan, I can't thank you enough for being there. Any other comments, questions, corrections, they say?
Someone by the name Ronald just entered. He says, Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. And Sheila Leela says, thank you, Mother Indrani. Kremlin says, thank you, Mother.
Who said? Kremlin?
Yeah, Kremlin and Sheila Leela.
Sheila Leela. Have you been here before, Sheila Leela?
This is my first time here.
Your first time. Welcome, welcome, Krishna Leela. I hope it won't be your last. Are you familiar with Bhakti Tirtha Swami's books?
She says, thank you.
That's it?
I think
That's it?
she's probably going to say something.
Oh, okay. I must be patient. This beach face to face, you know, I'm learning too.
Bhuvan Mohan says she's one of my friends.
Okay.
She listened. Yes, very much. I actually visit the Institute House very often, the one in Silver Springs.
Okay. All right. Welcome, welcome. Please come back again. And if you have the books, please try to read along with us, study along with us. I'm going to try and put questions out at the beginning of each class. I remember starting that. I don't know where I dropped that. I guess because I didn't get any response, but Bhagavad Gita says you do your best and you don't worry about results. So I'm trying to practice what I read and study. Okay, any other comments before we...
She says, thank you very much. I am most honored to be part of this. Jai.
Okay.
And Ronald says, I am a student of Master Teacher David Bruce Hughes.
Okay. Okay. We talk about master teachers and what they say and how we can grow and go deeper into some of those teachings. So welcome, welcome, and do come again. Bhakti Tirtha Swami offers us so much and everything and to everybody. So I thank you for coming. Okay? Okay. Thank you for being there. Think on some of these points, concepts. Think of being and knowing you are a spiritual warrior. And you have these qualities and you are helping others. But help yourself and then you can help others. And let that love come out and that compassion and caring in the battlefield. And just be mindful every day when you're out in school, at work, what exchanges are going on and how you are beginning to you know, this book is called Solace in Difficult Time, and he listed very thoroughly the concerns and the problems and the material problem. But we have spiritual answers if we have that divine connection. So you're being a spiritual warrior already, and just see how you're helping others with a kind word or some caring or taking time. You know, as you said, most people don't have time. Take time to listen to someone and maybe encourage them to know who they really are as a spiritual being. So every day is a day on the battlefield of consciousness and other stuff too. But as you're hearing and endeavoring to practice, put into practice what you're hearing, you notice, and this is something I have asked, and hopefully I'll ask it again in the new year, as you're hearing and as you go out into your daily life, just see if anything you have heard comes back to mind that you can offer to someone or use yourself to make your day a more pleasant day and a more fulfilling day and a more spiritual day. All right? And then you come back and tell me about it. Or if you want to talk to me on email, I've told you before, you may not want to put it on the chat room. You can send me an email at Mother Indrani 108 at gmail.com. And if you do that and you let me know we met here online, I'll do my best to answer you. How's that? All right? All right. Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming, and have a pleasant week, and prayerfully we'll meet again next Friday. Good night. Hare Krishna.
Okay.